hours of sharing during ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. In Malaysia, today is a beautiful morning, although perhaps a lot of our mobile goers are stuck in traffic jams. But at the same time, I hope that you guys have a great time, just enjoying the simple things in life, not necessarily the jam, but the view, the scenery, the people, even the chaos order of the streets. Just enjoy how beautiful it is. And in this beautiful Wednesday morning, 14th January, we will report more news for our ASEAN Dailies on Southeast Asia. Let's start off first with Malaysia. We want to start off with a news regarding on the arrest of Erik Paulsen. He is the Executive Director of Lawyers for Liberty. So 2 days ago, he was remanded in the police lockup to facilitate investigation over the comments in Twitter that he made, allegedly saying that the Friday sermons endorsed or being written by Jackims have some elements of extremism. And the magistrate court here yesterday nevertheless have granted the remand order for him, and he was following his arrest on Monday night. And it is learned that Erik Paulsen will be represented by 7 lawyers, including Latifa Koya and N. Surendran. He made this comment about Friday sermons on Monday night. In fact, Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Khalid Abu Bakar tweeted at KBAB51, said that Erik Paulsen was detained in Brickfields later that night, the same day as well. While his legal coordinator in Lawyers for Liberty, Michelle Yesudas, also confirmed Erik Paulsen was picked up in Brickfields by not just 1 or 2, but 20 cops. That's a lot of people to haul up just one person, one very small framed lawyer. And it is learned that at least 6 policemen were at Paulsen's law firm in Petaling Jaya for the follow-up investigation. He is believed to be held at the Dangwangi police station. This is what he tweeted that Monday evening, that Monday night, regarding on the Jakim's Friday sermon. He said that Jakim is promoting extremism every Friday. Government needs to address that if the government is serious about extremism in Malaysia. Erik Paulsen also lodged a police report at the police headquarters over death threats that he has received over his tweets. So it seems that it's a case that is still pending, but it nevertheless is a question about freedom of expression, as we have discussed over and over again. Should freedom expression be protected regardless of whatever the circumstances, or should it be, come with certain limitation? But another argument is, with social media where there's just extremely free space for civil society, and could probably be the only free space for civil society to voice out their concern. Should it be curtailed? Should the public be should the authorities take it very seriously over a tweet on Friday sermons? But in my own opinion, just like what I've always said before, to claim that what Erik Paulsen say is either right or wrong is to just prove the facts. Present all the Friday sermons transcription of in the mosque or in the surau, whether it is promoting extremism or otherwise, rather than just merely lodging a police report. I think Jakim also have to come out clean regarding on this particular issue. And him being a lawyer, his job is just to trying to ask the government to take action over this matter. He's not even trying to demonize Jakim, rather than trying to raise his concern over the extremism, especially religious extremism happening in this country. Besides issues regarding on Eric Paulsen, another thing that is worth mentioning in Malaysia is the number of Indonesians posing as Malaysians for security measures. So a study has been done by the Institute for Policy Analysis and Conflict, and it is stated that a number of Indonesians are posing as Malaysians, while some Malaysians are transiting Indonesia in an attempt to outwit the authorities and flag alongside Islamic State militants in Syria and Iraq. And this is based on the Facebook pages that the Institute is monitoring, and it was clear that ISIS supporters in Indonesia and Malaysia were friending one another. And it is clear that some Indonesians were identifying themselves as Malaysian, perhaps as a security measure, just when Indonesians and Malaysia were going to Afghanistan in the early 1990s, and many identified themselves as Filipinos. To further through possible trackers of the scent, Indonesians headed to the Middle East are reportedly leaving from Malaysia, while Malaysians are leaving from Indonesia. There's so much traveling between the two countries that it would not raise any red flags with immigration authorities on either side. So this research was released on September 24, and this claim is actually pretty shocking, because the threat of ISIS is very real, and some of their recruitments were from Malaysia and Indonesia, and the way they are Malaysian and Indonesian ISIS supporters are going over it by going to each other's country to go to Iraq and Syria. So, nevertheless, in July last year, the Institute also said that Indonesian-Malaysian connection in Syria took on a new facet with the formation of the Katiba Nusantara, or special unit for Malay-speaking Mujahid in ISIS or in Islamic State. Before the declaration of the Caliph, there were relatively few Malaysians with IS. More has joined the Ajnan al-Sham Islamic Union base in and around Damascus. One of the few to join IS was Ahmad Tarmimi, who became the first Malaysian to die as a suicide bomber in Iraq in late May 2014. So the sad part is at least 22 Indonesians and Malaysians since early August had came together under the IS banner in the town of Al-Shadadi in the Hasaka province. And this is really serious, because the group are discussing the desirability of forming at Katiba, a militant unit roughly equivalent to a company comprising 100 men. Apparently it will be a Malay-speaking unit. Makes sense militarily, because communication was a perennial problem. Most Indonesians were not fluent in either English or Arabic, so it kind of makes sense actually for them to band together as a Malay-speaking group and to reach out to the Caliph to other areas, including Southeast Asia. The downside is there's a huge challenges for Malaysian and Indonesian government to address this anti-terrorism case. In fact, Malaysia now is trying to push forward on an anti-terrorism bill. Not sure how far it will go, but hopefully the bill itself could address certain issues of extremism, especially terrorism, that is rampant in Southeast Asia. And is definitely affecting the global Muslim community. And the idea to come up with a specific law to counter terrorism, in fact, it was mooted at a time when the Malaysian authorities were tabling the white paper on Islamic State recently. So hopefully we can report more outcome out of that anti-terrorism bill. On another issue that we would like to discuss, we will take a short break in the meantime.
ASEAN Dailies, first and foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, you are back again with Arlene on ASEAN Dailies, more news from Southeast Asia, and we are going to continue with another Malaysian news. Just an update over the killing of Altan Tuya Sharibu. So it was a very infamous murder of a sensational scandal linked to an alleged high-level corruption that shook the UMNO in a way, or Barisan Nasional. So two Malaysian Police Special Unit Action personnel will face the death sentence for the murder of Mongolian model Altan Tuya Sharibu, and Malaysia overturns acquittal of the policemen in the case itself. It seems like Azila Hadri and Sirul Azhar Umar had been convicted of the 2006 killing of Mongolian national Altan Tuya Sharibu. She was the 28-year-old model and interpreter. Government critics have long alleged that the two men, member of an elite unit that guards top ministers, were scapegoats in the killing of Altan Tuya, who was at the center of an alleged massive kickbacks in the 1.1 billion US dollar 2002 purchase of the French Scorpion submarines. Anyway, the remains of Altan Tuya, who was involved in negotiation for the submarines, were found in a jungle clearing near the capital city after apparently being shot, and her corpse being blown up with a military grade explosives. And the background of the story also that she was in fact allegedly a lover of Abdurrazak Baginda, the man in charge of purchasing the submarines, and a close associate of current Prime Minister Najib Razak, who was defense minister at the time of the deal. So it looks like the federal court have made their decision, and it seems like during the decision itself in the court, a shocked-looking Azila was led off the courtroom after the decision, and Cyril, however, was not present, and his defense team told that the court they didn't know of his whereabouts. So they were convicted in 2009 and sentenced to hang, but released when an appeal court overturned the conviction in 2013 after raising questions about how their trial was conducted. The case centered on the French submarine maker DCNS paid commissions of more than 114 million euros, or in this case 142 million US dollar, to a shell company linked to Abdurrazak Baginda, while Malaysian opposition claims these were kickbacks to top officials. Another news that I would like to highlight is the story about how turbulent waters is affecting Thailand's fishing inmate plans. Thailand's plans to send prisoners to work in unattractive and labor-strapped fishing industry has continued to draw opposition even after 1 month. It was announced, as we all know, when it comes to the fishing industry in the South China Sea, it is quite a controversial industry, because a lot of complaints and also allegation has been made how it is actually a modern day slavery, a form of industry, and how much the workers has been repressed, given low wages, working in long hours, and bad working environment, a lot of suicide cases as well. So it shows that this is in a way how Thailand government is addressing the fishery industry in the country itself by having inmates instead doing the dirty job. As we all know, Thailand is the world's third largest seafood exporter, but the $8 billion industry is plagued with so many labor issues that the International Labour Organization they say that nearly 17% of workers on Thai fishing boat has experienced one form or another in terms of forced labor. Evidence of the systemic abuse of workers on fishing boat have made the job extremely unattractive. The industry employs some 300,000 people, no kid you, nearly a quarter of whom are registered as migrant workers. But these numbers are insufficient to meet the labor demands of the industry. That is the reason why Thailand's labor minister are hoping to get a quick fix of the problem by sending criminals instead to do the job. Whether it is a smart decision or not, I guess I'll leave our listeners here to decide, but in my personal opinion, addressing the issue by having prison inmates to do the job would not actually fix the problem of or increase the productivity of the fishing industry. The long-term solution is to improve the industry itself to ensure that labor rights are being erected in the industry. However, when it comes to the idea, not everyone was supportive. According to Vitaya Suryawongk, Director General of Thailand's Department of Corrections, said there were already many programs that allow prisoners to work in the community to cut prison time, but inmates still return to their cell at the end of the day. They came back to prison at night, but to work outside for a certain period of time without supervision. I don't think prisoners are a good option. I personally think the same too. In fact, human rights activists have highlighted how horrible the working conditions on the Thai fishing fleets. There were many reports, many allegations made, and in fact US has condemned Thailand in its annual human trafficking report following they push down Thailand's reputation at tier 3 in the report, human trafficking report, by revelation of the intense slavery, modern day slavery in the Thai shrimp industry. For example, persons ending up on these boats ended up going overseas for several years, working 20 hours a day, facing physical punishment from captains and senior members of the crew, and many more. This is according to Philip Robertson. He's the deputy director of Human Rights Watch Asia Division. In fact, in some cases, if they are not able to work, they are either being dumped overboard or to die. So a lot of extreme issues that Thai government have to address in order for them, for people to have more confidence to the labor market in the fishing industry in the country. On another news, regarding on the oil prices, as we reported 2 days ago, oil prices being pushed down to one of the lowest in recent time is a boon towards a lot of the Southeast Asian countries. In fact, only a bane towards Malaysia and other oil producing nations. But in terms of lower oil prices, definitely there's an opportunity there to tap into, especially for other Southeast Asian countries. But comprehensive structural reforms is in fact needed. Structural reforms in India and Indonesia are projected to help increase their growth to 6.4% and 5.6% respectively, from 5.5% and 5.2% respectively in 2014. In fact, growth in Asia-Pacific developing economies will pick up moderately in 2015. Prospect for growth would be better if supported by much needed structural reforms. And I think Jokowi is doing a lot of great work in terms of doing structural reforms in Indonesia, and it's a long-term process. It's not going to be easy, but this country, especially India and Indonesia, needs to address this issue if they were to really advance in the global economy. The steep decline in oil prices in recent months may be a start for a longer-term trend and will have a significant yet varying impact across the region. The year-end update estimates that for energy importing countries, a 10 ringgit per barrel fall in the oil price in 2015 would translate into an increase in GDP growth for up to 0.5% point. That's not bad for just a drop in oil prices without even adding additional productivity growth. But of course, what this article is from India Infoline is addressing is you cannot just rely on the drop in oil prices to increase GDP. You need to address structural reform where you allow more opportunities to be translated into productivities. And long-term productivity would mean growth would catch up in these countries, especially much needed reform in many other areas where a lot of people majority of the people within the population itself can enjoy the benefits or reap the benefits. Anyway, just to wrap up things, ASCAP estimate that the savings from energy subsidy could, for example, finance the provisions of income security to all elderly and persons with disability, as well as universal access to health and education in Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand. Declining global oil prices are a valuable opportunity for Asia-Pacific economies, especially Southeast Asia, to reduce oil subsidy that account for a large share of national budget in many countries in the region. In fact, regressive fossil fuel subsidies more often benefit the rich and have little impact on reducing poverty. So too much reliance on fuel subsidies actually not really is good. Subsidy in other forms might be a better way of seeing growth in this case. So that's all for our news today. I hope that you enjoy our news and let us know your feedback. What do you think? And you can always update us with other interesting news from Southeast Asia. You can go to our Facebook and Twitter as well as Instagram. And also, of course, you can always listen to us live at durianasian.com or listen via your mobile's TuneIn app by typing Durian ASEAN. We will stay tuned. We will continue with our durian heat later on.